Hey everyone, Dana here, and on today's Ask an American, I'm going to be talking about the cost of college tuition. How much does it actually cost to attend university in the US? I already made a video on what college, university, and high school are, so if you haven't watched that video, it might be helpful to watch it first, so I'll link to it down below. Diving right into it then, are universities in the US expensive? Short answer, yes. Long answer, well, it depends on where you go to school and whether or not you have any scholarships. Also, don't forget that whether or not something is expensive is all relative. I mean, before moving over here to Europe, I thought that I had gone to college pretty cheaply, or at least for a reasonable amount. But then I moved over here and realized that in some countries, college is basically free or pretty close to it. And so yeah, compared with free, even the cheapest routes in the US seem expensive. Although we also can't forget that nothing in this world is actually free. I mean, the money to pay the professors and have that university open and pay for all those costs, that money has to come from somewhere, and in Germany, it comes from taxes. So the cost for students to go to university is spread out amongst everyone, whereas in the US, it's the responsibility of the individual person who's going to university and not everyone in the country. But anyway, back to the topic at hand for today's video. Let's start at the cheaper end of the spectrum for college in the US and then work our way up from there. As I mentioned in the other video, community colleges are a cheaper way to do those first 2 years of university. Something to keep in mind, just like cost of living, your food, rent, all of that stuff, the cost of tuition varies around the US. And so in places where it's more expensive to live, in general, it's also going to be more expensive to go to college. And in general, Florida is on the cheaper side of the spectrum, but even in Florida, it's going to cost about $3,000 to attend a community college full-time for 1 year. And that's full-time is 5 classes each semester. That price, of course, is for Florida residents only. So in the US, you are encouraged to stay in your own state and attend university there, not go out of state. This is also, I'm talking just about public community colleges and public 4-year universities with this. Private universities are different, and we'll talk about that a little later. So Florida residents would expect to pay that $3,000 per year for community college. But if you're not from Florida, so let's say you're from New York and you decide that you'd like to move down south where it's warmer and attend college there, it's going to cost you about 3 times that amount to go to college. So out-of-state people in general have to pay about 3 times the amount that in-state residents pay. Okay, now let's move on to a little bit more expensive 4-year universities. So I'm talking about the undergraduate programs only. Graduate programs are going to cost more. This is just the first 4 years that you go to graduate with your bachelor's degree. And I'm talking about public universities like University of North Carolina, University of Florida, University of Connecticut. All these universities, by the way, are within the top 25 best-ranked public universities in the US. Let's look at the prices. According to the University of Florida website, if you are a Florida resident, it costs about $6,300 in tuition and fees. If you are a North Carolina resident, according to the University of North Carolina website, it costs about $8,800, again, for tuition and those fees. And getting more expensive as we work our way up the US, according to the University of Connecticut website, it costs about $11,200. So you can see that that is a pretty huge range in cost. It would cost you about $25,000 to go to the University of Florida for those 4 years, tuition and fees only. Whereas to go to the University of Connecticut, it's somewhere around $44,000. I mean, that really makes an impact. That's a big difference. But actually, it doesn't sound so expensive when you start considering the cost of some private universities. 1 year of university at Harvard, according to their website, is about $47,000. Again, for that tuition and fees. For 4 years of university, that would be about $188,000. Well, when you look at that, then the University of Connecticut and definitely the University of Florida doesn't sound quite so expensive anymore. So like I said, it's all relative. But don't assume that private equals expensive, because there are also some private universities that cost $11,000, $13,000, $15,000 for the year, which isn't cheap, but there are some really expensive private universities, yes, but not all private universities are really expensive. Okay, so quick recap before we move on. Staying in state is a lot cheaper. If you go out of state, you'll have to pay generally about 3 times the amount that those in-state students are paying. Also, college tuition varies widely around the US. It could cost you around $6,000 for the year, $8,000, $11,000, and on up. And there are some very expensive private universities in the US, but private doesn't necessarily equal expensive. There are also some less expensive private universities too. And we've only been talking about the tuition and the fees, not other expenses such as textbooks, which, if I remember, I think my textbooks cost me about $1,500 per year, so on top of the tuition. And then also, of course, cost of living, renting an apartment, food, all of that stuff that you need just to live. So then, the big question is, how do people in the US afford to go to college? Well, a lot of people don't. Debt is a big problem. There are a lot of people that graduate with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in student loan debt. John Oliver did a really great video on this. I will link to it down below. It's funny, but really takes a good look at this topic and just picks it apart. So definitely check that out. I'll let him explain all the details of it, but I will just say, yes, student debt is definitely a problem in the US. So besides taking out massive loans, how else do people pay for college in the US? Well, a lot of families start saving for the kids' college fund right when the kid is born, or sometimes even before, when they're pregnant. Sometimes a separate bank account is set up just for the college fund. That's it. You don't touch that money until your child goes to college, and then it's to pay for that. Oftentimes, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends of the family will give money toward that college fund when the child is born or when they graduate from high school. So basically, like taxes in Germany, in the US, everyone kind of chips in and helps pay for it. And then there are also scholarships and grants out there that you can apply for and hopefully get. And there are actually so many scholarships and grants out there that I have seen like little seminars or evening workshops that you can take to learn how to find these scholarships and grants and then learn what to do in order to better your chances of getting them. There are scholarships for playing sports. There are scholarships for certain ethnicities. There are scholarships for certain areas of study. Sometimes you have to write an essay for these scholarships, and then sometimes it's just that you have to have certain grades to get the scholarship. When I was in high school, for example, Florida had the Bright Futures Scholarship. You had to have a certain GPA, I think it was 3.5 or higher, and you had to get a certain score on the SATs, and then you also, while you were in high school, you had to do at least 100 hours of community service, so giving back to the community. And if you met those requirements, did those things, and applied for the scholarship, you got a full ride paid to any public university in Florida, and they also gave you $300 per semester for textbooks. So my question for you is, how much does it cost to go to university where you live? And what's your opinion? Do you think that the government should pay for people to go to university? Or do you think that the individuals should be responsible for their own college tuition? Or maybe it should be like a 50-50 split? What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe for more videos and hit that like button if you enjoyed watching this video. And also for more short video clips, photos, and other information on other video projects that I'm working on, you can connect with me over here on my Twitter and my Facebook page. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen. Also, what other questions you have about the US? Give me more questions for my Ask an American series. If you have one, let me know down below or on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks. So Florida residents would expect to pay that $3,000. Like Germany, the cost comes from, diving right into it. Are universities in the US expensive then? Short answer, no. Yes. Short answer, yes.